Run the routes. Week 7. What's happening, fellas? What's happening, fellas?
Let's go.
Let's get it.
Fresh off.
Let's go.
Fresh off of week 6. Nick killed it. Eddie killed it. I was very subpar. Brady is missing in action today, so I'm going to be the lead here. Just bear with me. It's Charlie. Brady. It's Nick. It's Eddie. This is what you got today. Big time week 7. Couple of buys going on. Currently right now, New Orleans, Arizona nearing halftime, 14-14. Let's jump into Sunday's action, though.
Woo.
We got first game, 1 o'clock. We got Atlanta versus Cincy. We got an Atlanta Falcons team that is looking good every week to week. If they're not winning, they're real close. Definitely an overachievement from what most would have thought to this point in the season. Then we got a Cincinnati Bengals team that looks like they've turned their 0-2 start around, sitting at 3-3 too. I don't know, fellas. Who are you guys buying on this one? I'll let Nick go first. What you got, Nick?
I'm going Cincinnati. Good points you made there, though, Charlie, for sure, about Atlanta kind of being a nitty-gritty team, staying in games. Definitely not somebody to, sleep on. Cincinnati started slow. They've turned things around as well. I think the defense, though, for Atlanta is just too mediocre as far as an overall defense. They got some pieces back there, but I don't think it's enough to stop the amount of weaponry that Cincinnati has. But Ja'Marr Chase is questionable. I think he's going to be okay. He was limited in practice, so that means he wasn't out of practice. It's an ankle injury. He should be fine, or a hip injury, I believe. And so I'm going Cincy.
Let me ask you this before we jump to Eddie. If I was to say I was going to give you nearly a touchdown, the line 6.5, to take Atlanta, would that sway your opinion? Would you take Atlanta if I said I was going to give you a touchdown?
I think it's going to be a tie. I think 6.5 is a stretch. Yeah, I might take Atlanta on that deal, but as far as the W, I'm got to go Cincy. But when you put it that way, yeah, I think that's a little much. I think Atlanta will keep it tight. Yep. But I think Joe Cool and the Cincinnati Bengals come down and finish it out.
I like it. Edward, what do you say?
Yeah, it's a tough one, bro, because, I think Atlanta is tied for first in the division with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So this is kind of a must-win already. Week 7 coming in to this game. It's a potential game that could be won by Atlanta, since he's been, been tough all year to try to stay on track. This is attack of the 3-3s right here. Who's going to be above 500 after this game is the real question, But I think Atlanta needs this one more, I would say, right? They're both. It's Baltimore's 3-3, Tampa's 3-3. Both teams need both teams. This is a mirror image of what both teams are coming into this game needing. I gotta go quarterback here. I gotta go Cincinnati Bengals. I feel like Atlanta's the more hot team right now this second, but they are playing well. On the October 18th, though, Casey Hayward gets put on injury reserve. That's tough for that defense in the secondary there. You got D. Alfred still banged up, questionable. That was on the 19th. And then on the flip side, since he's got a lot of big names, that Logan Wilson, who had that outstanding linebacker that had an incredible year last year, I'm going Cincy. Here because
let me ask you this. Do you feel like this Cincinnati Bengals team this season, how close of a comparison to last year's Cincinnati Bengals team do you feel like this one is, version-wise? Do you feel like this is the same strength of...
No, I don't. That's why it's tough for me to... Because I really want to pick Atlanta here because I feel like Atlanta's the more, the more hot team right now this second, as we're...
Could you put a finger on what you think is different from this Cincinnati team? Because I know you were high on them last year all the way through the playoffs and stuff.
Coming in, the offensive line wasn't giving us the the kind of play that we were getting last year to allow them to catapult them into the Super Bowl. I mean, and you look back and Uzama's not there. There's some things that are a little bit different, I mean, but I'd say they still have a chance no matter what, as long as you got the top three still on the field. I mean, you still got
Burrow, Chase,
Burrow, Chase, and and I mean, as long as you got that, I feel like the defense has been playing okay, but not championship caliber. I mean, I mean, if they can stay at top of the division and get in there, then they got a chance just as anybody. But right now, KC and Buffalo look like the teams that are it right now. But I don't see Cincy being it. But I just like the quarterback situation here. It's Joe Cool, man. It's hard to hard to bet against, dude. And like I said, both teams need it. I'm going Cincy here.
How about you, real quick, Nikki?
I want to go Atlanta.
Offensive line is more of an issue this year. Is that what you think the difference is with Cincinnati last year, Cincinnati this year?
No, I think I kind of disagree a little bit. I think that it's just about the same team as last year. They struggled. I mean, they squeaked into the playoffs 10-6, squeaked through the playoffs, and squeaked into the Super Bowl, which was almost. I think everybody was leaning Rams in that game, no matter what, no matter how it went. Even though the Bengals surprised a lot of people, but I think that their identities kind of just got figured out a little bit more as the start of this season has begun, and I don't think they're as big as a threat as per se the Bills or the Chiefs, like Eddie was saying.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was just curious what you guys thought maybe was the difference maker here.
Well, if I could add
between Cincinnati, no, you got enough. I'm gonna make my pick now. I gave you the opportunity, man. Cover machines have been Atlanta. Atlanta is the only team in the NFL that has continued to cover each week against the spread. I think that snaps this week. I think the Bengals handled them pretty soundly. I'm going Cincinnati. It's tough with the injuries. Cincinnati just feels different to me this year for some reason. Maybe it's just kind of the luster. They were such a sweetheart last year that it was alluring to kind of pick them and ride with them. And it was like, look at all these things and look at this kid Chase and look at this connection with Burrow and all that stuff. I think they need to continue to put more on Burrow's shoulders, how they have been, because they start off the year kind of heavy on Mixon. And it looks like they're starting to let Burrow just go ahead and be a little bit more of Joe Cool. So I hope that continues. I think that's the best possible version of Cincinnati. But to you guys, definitely Eddie's point with the offensive line and stuff, that's going to need, we've talked about it all year, it's going to have to be better. If Cincinnati's ever going to get back to where they were last year, that offensive line is going to have to figure out how to gel.
If you think about it, I mean, he was running for his life last year too. That's why I say, and I don't really think that the offensive line. I mean, he was running for his life last year, and the same thing's happening this year.
It was.
Well, not it wasn't. He wasn't.
Nixon was producing, and he had Uzama as his safety blanket, and those two things are missing this year. I mean, Mixon's getting carries, he's getting the ball, but he's not producing like he was last year.
And Jamar's not getting, the first couple games, all he did was just run for his life. And
he looked good last week, though.
Last year.
He plays last week. I thought he would against that Saints secondary.
Let's
get into the next one. There's a little juicy one. Detroit Lions coming off the bye. Dallas Cowboys getting Dak Prescott back. Cowboys sitting at 4-2. Surprisingly, as well as the Detroit offense has fared, they're sitting at 1-4 on the season. Nick, how you liking this one?
Dallas, taking Dallas for sure. The defense is too good. I think that the Lions are just too sus of a team right now. Yeah, their offense has been okay at times, but they've struggled to put up points the last couple of weeks, and they're going to struggle even more against the top three defense in the Dallas Cowboys, but maybe the best defense in the league right now. Dallas for sure for me. Dak Prescott's just a little cherry on top for them. I think the defense handles business. Dallas.
What you got, Eddie?
Yeah, I can't go against nothing Nick said. I mean, it's tough to go against that. I mean, it's just I mean, I see Dak maybe coming out a little rusty first half, but it's that defense really. That's defense wins championships, and even though Dallas had a tough game against the Eagles, I expect him to bounce back this week against Detroit. But I'm sure Detroit's going to put some numbers up on them, but yeah, I'm going Dallas here. They got Dak back. I mean, this is it, right? This is supposed to be the team. You got what's his name? Gallup. Gallup should be a lot better this week than last week. So
Zeke and Pollard splitting touches, doing
it's great. Yeah, man.
Top 5 rush defense for Detroit, so it's going to be interesting there. Zeke looked good last week. Pollard has looked good in the previous weeks. Still only getting about 8 carries a game, though. Seems like they should, manufacture a little bit more touches.
They split touches the last 2 weeks, but yes, before that, he was getting a lot less production than expected.
Mm-hmm. Well, production, I'm just saying opportunities and stuff like that. Yeah. I think getting Dak back is going to open up Dallas's offense. I'm going Dallas. I think they cover. I don't think this is too much of a sweat game for them. Yes, I agree with you, Eddie. He's definitely going to have some rust to kick off. You don't sit there sit stale for 5 weeks out of the season and expect to come back and just be on point. But I think he's going to have plenty of opportunities against that Detroit Lions secondary to get right. So I'm going Dallas. I'll go Dallas to cover as well. Next up on the slate is a rematch from just a couple of weeks ago. Teams looking a little bit different. At this point in time, you got the Indianapolis Colts traveling to Tennessee for the rematch. The first matchup had Tennessee winning 24-17, and that was on the road in Indy. Looks like Jonathan Taylor is going to play this week, his first game in a couple of weeks. How you like this one, Nick?
So I got to go Tennessee on this one. The Colts are hot right now. Last couple weeks, bouncing back a little bit. Getting things gelled together a little bit more. But the Colts rush defense was, a big topic about, how good they were supposed to be and how good they were doing in the beginning. But they didn't see Derrick Henry yet. And then they saw Derrick Henry and what happened. He ran all over them. Titans ended up winning the game. I think the same thing happens in this game. I think that offensive line for Tennessee steps up. Derrick Henry does his thing. Overall, I'm not real excited about this pick. I mean, the Colts could easily win this game. Kind of a big game. This is the second time they're meeting. Houston's not winning that division. And it's certainly not going to be help me out here, boys.
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, which they could be, but I don't think I see either of those teams winning the division right now. So it's the fight between Tennessee and the Colts, which is a bad division overall, but I think this is a huge game. I think the Colts could easily win, but I'm swinging Tennessee.
What you like, Eddie?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about this earlier, how this one was a tough one for me to edge one out. You go on a, you try and say that, it's a divisional game. I want to stay number one in the division. Well, this is it. I mean, they got, it's 3-2. And then Indy got the tie, so Tennessee could lose this, and then Indy goes up. I don't, you take an Indy on the sweep. I don't know. I tried to take the sweep last week. I lost in that. So for that reason and that reason only, I'm not going for the sweep. I'm taking Tennessee.
Well, Tennessee won the first game. Didn't they?
Oh, they did.
I thought I just
won the first game.
Then I'm going Indy. I'm going Indy.
21-17.
I'm going Indy.
Okay.
My fault.
I'm going Colts here. I think it's another very close game. The last game was 4-point game. I like the Colts because I feel like they got more ways to beat you. Matt Ryan looked real good last week. I feel like they're trending in the right direction. I feel like Tennessee's just kind of place holding at this point in time. There's nothing about Tennessee that's been impressive. Their rush defense has ascended here lately. I think they're up to 8th now against the rush, which is good, with Jonathan Taylor coming off the extra rest. But I still have no confidence in Tannehill. Tennessee's pass defense is still very porous. And Henry has yet to have that King Henry look to him yet. Not to say it's not going to come. He hasn't looked bad, but he hasn't dominated a game yet. And Tennessee's defense complemented with Henry is kind of the recipe when I look at Tennessee and what they were able to accomplish last year. So I'm gonna go Indy on this one.
You think Henry's not having a good season coming back off that injury because of the injury, or do you think because
I wouldn't say it's not a good season, but I know they had the offensive lineman go down at the beginning of the year.
The retire.
The defense isn't setting them up the way they were last year to me, and they're not playing with leads and command of the game how they were last year. It's kind of just a back and forth battle with some questionable teams at this point on their schedule, and they're coming out victorious. I mean, that's why they're on top of the division. But I'm not impressed with them, and I think Henry is still Henry. I really can't say that I seen him lost a step, but there's a difference to. I mean, we all know if you can get to Henry quick before he gets that steam going, then you've got a shot with him.
Yeah.
And that seems to be happening more often than not this season. And he hasn't been in a position to where he's getting to that 20 to 25 carry threshold to where he's running downhill on y'all. And it doesn't matter that you're getting to him quick because he's got the full head of steam and he's worn you down over the time. I think that's the difference in the whole Tennessee offensive scheme. And missing A.J. Brown is big for them, for me. I mean, we talked about in the offseason, it's big. There's no offset there. Robert Woods has been nice. He's had some decent games, but he's no A.J. Brown.
And you can stack the blocks and you can play man, and you don't need to, especially if you have the secondary to do that, then it's a lot easier to try and hold Henry to, or even put the Tennessee Titans into a position that they can't even use Henry anymore because you got to try and take the top off because you're playing from behind. Yeah, I mean, that's tough regardless. For sure.
Henry catching passes out of the backfield is something that just doesn't happen. So, I mean, if you can get them in situations like that, I feel like they're very vulnerable with Tannehill at quarterback. But let's go ahead and keep it moving. Next game on the slate. A struggling Green Bay team coming into a poor performing Washington Commanders team. Taylor Heineke is going to get the start for Ginger Ankles Carson Wentz this week. Can Green Bay get it back on track? What do you think, Nick?
Green Bay, all the way for me on this one. I think this is an easy pick. I don't see why this shouldn't be an easy pick. It should be Green Bay all around the board. I'm kind of
is that more of a condemnment on how bad the Commanders are?
Because
Green Bay hasn't looked good.
No, I was going to touch on Green Bay hasn't been good either. So it's not like I'm picking them because it's Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. They've been bad too, but if Green Bay loses to the Commanders, then Green Bay is really bad. Like they now we know that they are really bad.
That's fair.
It's a big game for them then.
Taylor Heineke, he did some good things with them last year. There was a source over there in Washington saying that this is going to open the playbook, which I was confused because it's like, if that's going to open the playbook, why wasn't he starting? Anyhow,
good point.
We'll see what happens with him coming in off the bench like that. He may have a good game, he may not, but I'm going Green Bay.
What you got here?
Oh, I like the underdogs. I'm gonna go the Commanders here because I think
He likes Heineke.
I think
You got to thank for Heineke. Let's just say it.
That's really it. Give me another reason.
If it was Wentz, I guarantee this wouldn't be the pick.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, if this is Wentz, though, I go Green Bay. But I'm taking Heineke because maybe McLaurin takes the top off. You know, maybe
I like that combination.
Maybe
more.
McLaurin shows up and shows out in this game. Maybe we have a huge Terry sighting. Maybe Terry gets scary in this game. Maybe because look, Heineke's going to come out and play. I mean, that's a given. Like this dude is not going to lay down, bro. It doesn't matter what jersey he's wearing. Well, he's coming out and this dude's a baller, bro. He's gonna ball. So, and it just, the Commanders defense, it's sus. I'm not saying it's not sus, but like, it is sus enough to cover whatever Green Bay's got. Like, I mean, they could stop the run. I mean, they had a good game against Dallas, was trying to run. And Dallas's offensive line this year is a lot better than Green Bay's offensive line this year. So I think there's potential here. Both teams are scoring 17 points a game, bro. I mean, Washington's letting up a little bit more points, 22 a game, and Green Bay's only letting up 20. Don't get wrapped up in the numbers. I think potentially this game could be, in the words of my man Nicky, squeaker, cuz it could be, or it could be, a slugfest. Heineke for, McLaurin. And
Going blow for blow with Rodgers?
It could be,
It could be the way the way Rodgers.
There's so much dysfunction though coming out of the Commanders right now. I mean, what's going on with Daniel Snyder? There was something going on with a raffle. You hear about this raffle? There was a raffle, and the guy wins the raffle. He gets the check. He cashes it. There's no insufficient funds in the Commander's account there. They blame the bank. There's a whole lot of speculation going on here. I don't know.
I think
this is just a really. Why do I gotta even pick this game? All right, I'm going Commanders here. Why the hell not?
I think this is the game where the Packers realize that they have two very good running backs, and then they start to run the ball.
I mean,
well said.
Both teams are letting up over 100 yards.
I agree with Eddie. I think we see Scary Terry sighting. I think him and McLaurin do have a good chemistry together. I think that's going to work, but it's only going to work to a point. I agree with Nick about the two-back situation. I'm looking for them to get Aaron Jones a little bit more involved. He's kind of been missing in action here the past couple of weeks. I was kind of wondering if maybe he was banged up a little bit. I think that'll open it up for Dobbs and Lazard to make some plays, Tunyon to make some plays. I feel like this is going to be a typical Green Bay win. Defense should play better in this one as well. And I got Green Bay. Probably covering the spread as well.
So wait, are you picking Green Bay or Commanders? Because you said you Commanders at first.
No, he just said he agreed with what I was saying about Terry McLaurin.
Oh, okay. No, I thought you said I agree with the command, and then you went, okay, go ahead. Green Bay.
I hit on his point. I hit on your point. Yeah, Green Bay. Green Bay, definitely. Next one on the slate is another sluggish team that had some high hopes. Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Shout out,
visiting a seemingly kind of complete disaster. Almost we're witnessing the building being blown up mid-season in the Carolina Panthers. Lots of trade rumors flying around. Looks like PJ Walker is going to get his second start. Interesting thing about PJ Walker last week, he had a negative per throw. I didn't say it right, but every time he attempted a pass, you know how we're always big on 7.9, 6.8 yards per attempt. PJ Walker had a negative yards per attempt. That's what
is that even possible?
Last week, yes.
How's that possible?
Throwing behind the line of scrimmage, screen passes, and little loops to McCaffrey.
Wow,
it's wild to think about, but yes.
Wow.
So having that information, gentlemen. Nicholas, what do you see here?
Wow.
Well, I appreciate the insight and the little
tidbit
there that you gave me, but I was already leaning Tampa Bay. but you are
Really?
right. But you are right about Tampa being almost a disappointment at this point in the season, considering the high hopes for them.
I mean,
You think
Brady's not here, so we really don't have to hold back on our true feelings about Tampa.
But
Good point. Sorry, Brady, but I'm going in now. 2 weeks ago, the Bucks were probably still considered, one of the top teams in the power rankings, and then having a mediocre win over the Falcons, and then lost last week to the Steelers, and stuff like that can't happen when you're supposed to be this power team. But I'm going Tampa Bay because Carolina is much worse.
yeah, I
Damn.
mean, shout outs Brady on this one. Shout outs Henry on this one. But somebody's got to win this game, and if it ends up being Carolina, I think Tom Brady will blow a head gasket. So I'm going Tampa Bay Buccaneers here just because I don't, I want nothing but the best health for Tom Brady, so I don't want him freaking out. So I'm going Bucks here because I think if Carolina loses, no one's going to freak out. But if Tom Brady and the Bucks lose, Brady might freak out. That poor offensive line is going to get another lashing if they lose. Going Bucks here.
I'm curious at what point does the talk start about this is maybe a little bit on Tom Brady's declining finally. He hasn't looked good all season. Like,
Right.
There has not been a game this season where I've watched him and been like, man, that's Tom Brady. He's just ripping it, on point, command, all that stuff. There's been a lot of excuses out there. I mean, it's just offensive line, different coaching staff, wide receivers are banged up. Like,
I mean, they're
I've
throwing.
heard it all. I've heard it all. And, like, watching him play, I've watched an average quarterback play. Like, I haven't seen Tom Brady yet this season. I think he's going to have the opportunities against the Carolina team. I know that Carolina defense is going to play legit, though, and they have a lot of speed. And it's been Tom Brady's accuracy that's been my eyeball test that I've seen. He's been missing people, missing them behind, and he's still got the lowest pressure rate in the league. So I can't sit there and blame it on that. So I think Carolina's got a puncher's chance in this. I'm going to go Tampa, and this is probably going to be the week where I jumped off Carolina, so stayed on Carolina. I'm going to go Tampa because they need this. They need this more than Green Bay needs this to me. Like, they need a good performance, not just a 17-14 win at Carolina. Like, they need I personally feel like I need to see, like, they should dominate this game. There's nothing Carolina's doing right now. If the Rams can beat them by 14 points, y'all should beat them by at least 20 points. This should be a no-brainer. Or there is a level of concern that is starting to raise within me personally. I already had my question marks about them coming into the season, and it continues to slowly rise for me. We'll see how it ends up shaking out. I'll take the Bucks here. But man, I won't be surprised at all at the end of the day if they figure out they lost this game. But you're right. I would imagine Tom Brady would internally combust if that does happen. We'll see. He's got a lot of stuff going on in personal life, man.
There's a lot.
Maybe that's a little bit of an effect too. I don't know.
There's a lot going on.
This next one is going to be near and dear to my man Eddie's heart. The New York Giants traveling down south in the heat.
Yes,
It's kind of cool down here right now. To face the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have been surprisingly game as well. Definitely have been on the improvement. But the New York Giants, man, week after week, I see a team that is together and galvanized, and I see spaces of just, man, these guys are like the little engine that could, a little bit of lack of talent there on the field, but cohesiveness and people being in the right position up to this point has been very impressive. Hats off to Dabo, the new coach there. Nick, I know you've been on the Giants all year long as well. How do you see this one playing out?
So funny you say that, Charlie, because I've actually picked them 5 out of 6 weeks. And last week was the first week I didn't pick them. I thought that in the Green Bay Giants game, I was sure on the Giants, and then they were playing the Ravens, and I felt like Lamar just kind of separated that one, but I lost that one, and I faded away from the Giants, and I'm fading away from them again one more time. I'm going Jacksonville. This one kind of hurts because I feel like I'm gonna kick myself in the ass again if the Giants win and I picked against them. But it is what it is. I kind of need them to lose too, being an Eagles fan.
Wishful thinking.
But interesting thing about the Giants, week one, they were away in Tennessee, and they beat the Titans. But since then, they have been the home team or considered the home team. Since then, they played the one game out in London, which neither team was considered a home team, but they've been at home every other game. I think maybe that might have a little bit to do with it, but I think Jacksonville's got a lot of young talent and a lot of opportunity. At first, I was leaning Giants, talking to Eddie off camera, talking about the defense is going to overwhelm Lawrence for sure. I like what they're doing on defense. Saquon. Then Danny Dimes is surprising, like sneaky good. Like he really is. He's sneaky good. And I agree with what you were saying, Charlie, about the cohesiveness and their team as a whole. I like what I'm seeing too. But I'm going to lean Jags on this one on kind of the upset game.
-3 to the Jags. So Vegas says Jags. Surprisingly to me, what do you say, Edward? Do the Giants keep it going? I know you like a lot of what you've seen. It's hard not to as a fan.
Yeah, of course. I mean, just the way the guys are going out and competing, and then you look on Snapchat and you look on Twitter, these guys are having a good time, But winning brings that. Winning brings all of that. The happiness, the glory, the everything you would get on being a team. The positiveness of being on a team when you're winning is just absolutely hands down, bar none, better than anything.
It's contagious.
It really is. But with all that being said, I mean, it's tough. You got to come down here in the heat, and I mean, the Giants
We've talked about that with northern teams coming down to Florida.
Yeah.
Another thing for me is how long can the Giants keep coming back from behind? First team this century, first team in 100 years to come behind a 14 or a double-digit deficit in the second half 3 times out of the first 6 games. So 3 out of the 6 games they're coming back from double-digit deficits in the second half. I mean, I don't see why that might not play out again this game. I feel like maybe they might be playing from behind late in the game against a talented Jacksonville offense. And I don't know if they can squeak that one out. But go ahead.
I'm gonna take Jacksonville here. I'm gonna take Jacksonville because I think coupled with the heat, and just because Jacksonville has a tough team, I think that the Giants are gonna lose this one.
Real quick, Eddie, if I was to say, how do I beat this Giants team to you? This Giants team. What would, sum it up in a real quick answer for me? How do you beat the Giants right now?
Stop the run. And Jacksonville can do that. I think if you shut down Barkley and, you make the Giants play from behind, you stop the run and play mistake-free ball, then I think the Giants are, not easily beatable because the heart factor, everybody's playing for this organization and this coach. I mean, it's hard to stop. It's like the Giants are playing on like something that like you can't point out, you can't really, you can't coach it, you can't, this is like something that's like.
But sometimes that's the specialness that's needed. I mean, we looked at Cincinnati all year last year, and it was like we marveled at some of the talent there, but there was something about that team that made you buy in a little bit more. I got to go with you guys. It's going to be the first sweep. We got Jacksonville as well. I'm not going to do it because I feel like Jacksonville's the better team, but I think a little bit of the heat, I think a little bit of what Nick said. I feel like Jacksonville's gonna be in a better position to win this game. I look back to the Philly game, which is a similar style to what the Giants like to play, which is run the ball a lot and hang in there with games. They got off to quick starts. They've gotten off to quick starts just about every week. That is Jacksonville. And I agree with you. I think the Giants are going to have to play from behind. There's some nice playmakers. I like what Doug Peterson has done with the offense. Eddie, you've touted the Jacksonville defense, and obviously they've shown up. You can just look back to what they did with Jonathan Taylor and the Indianapolis Colts earlier this season, and they did a fairly good job with Philly's awesome run attack as well. I think they're going to be able to do enough. I think this is still a very close game. I think the Giants will, at the end of the day, be in range to make this happen. But I'm going to go Jacksonville here with the dub.
It's tough to pick against them. I mean, Jacksonville's only letting up 89 yards rushing a game. I think that, if the Giants can continue this magic, right? The real question is, like, are the Giants for real? Like, I think that should be, like, an honest question at this point. Maybe week 10, like, if they win this game and they beat Seattle, then I think at that point we need to start really asking ourselves, like, wait a minute, like, are they an actual real contender? Like, is really the NFC East the best division in football? Like, I mean, we really have to start saying that. I mean, I think maybe right now it might be a little too early for that. Like, we know the Eagles are really good right now. Dallas is really good right now.
Is set with a very nice schedule. That includes Philly, that includes Dallas, that includes New York. Those are your own division in the NFC East is probably your biggest competition all year. So that is a blessing for you guys. I think the big deciding factor in this game for me is depth, because I think the heat is going to come into play, and the Giants don't really have that much depth. I mean, definitely not at the wide receiver spot. And, it's going to affect even Superman Saquon Barkley. Breida has touched the ball a little bit more here lately. Brightwell has come through for them in the run game as well. But just depth across the board is very thin for the New York Giants. I think that's what kind of separates it for me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more talent on Jacksonville, but that's the thing. That's the thing. It's like they have showed
talent for talent. Everybody New York has played has been more.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they have
succeeded.
Like, they have shown that they have depth. They have shown it all year. I mean, they sign guys from the practice squad every single week, and these guys come on the field and they make plays. It's ridiculous. I mean, like that Marcus Johnston.
It's a hard lesson learned this week for the Giants.
For sure. Because, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's like you're going to get tested. You're going to get tested in this game.
Week in, week out.
For
Can't hang your hat on what you did the week before. And I think the Giants are going to be game. I don't by any stretch of the imagination think Jacksonville is going to run over them.
No, neither do I. Like I said, the magic might run out here, but they're going to bring that magic down there for sure.
No doubt. Last 1:00 game we got here. It's the Cleveland Browns. Lots of stories surrounding Mr. Watson again. He's allowed back in the facility, not allowed to practice yet. Got a couple new cases popping up.
Unreal.
I don't want to dwell on that though. But it is a situation that they have to deal with. They're traveling to Baltimore, who has started out good, and seemingly maybe it's not having Rashad Bateman the past couple of weeks, which there are some very telling stats about that one. Or whatever it might be. Maybe it's Lamar not as highly capable as what we thought at the beginning of the season. Whatever that is, maybe it's all on the defense. It's Cleveland, Baltimore, borderline for the division lead right now, because Cleveland has somehow kept afloat up until this point in the season. Nick, how you see this one?
When I try to pinpoint like a game-winning decision, whether it be the secondary, the defense, quarterbacks, whatever it is, trenches, A guy I think about is Miles Garrett, but I don't think the trenches is going to matter as much in this one. I think the deciding factor is the quarterback play. I think it's Lamar Jackson over Jacoby Brissett. I think I just trust Jackson a little bit more. The defense over in Baltimore isn't as good as they are on paper. You know what I mean? Like they're mediocre. But so that does give some room for Cleveland and in the run game, Nick Chubb to do some good things.
Chubb's been a beast this year.
And yes, he's number one in the league right now for rushing yards, so he could definitely give Baltimore, their mediocre defense, some problems. But I trust Jacoby Brissett to make more mistakes than maybe Lamar. But you're right, Charlie. They've definitely made or played some raggedy football in the past couple of weeks. Injuries starting to stack up again, like they were last year. Maybe that's their kryptonite. That a couple guys go down, they don't have the depth, like you were just talking about in the last game. So, but I gotta lean Baltimore here.
Yeah, I mean,
Eddie, what say you?
Jacoby Brissett has more yards passing. Jacoby Brissett has less interceptions. Lamar Jackson just has more touchdowns. Jacoby Brissett is throwing the ball a lot more, 206 to Lamar's 181.
Which is crazy.
Lamar's still making a lot of mistakes. But I feel like these mistakes, like that, I mean, you could knock one interception off that number, and they'd be tied 5-5 in the Giants game, where he just hurls it up because they're coming for his life, and he's trying to roll out, and he's literally just trying to make a play, and here comes Julian Love, snatches it out of the sky. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a couple more of those in that 6 to his credit against Jacoby Brissett. But I'm not even going to take Baltimore because of Jacksonville. I'm going to take Baltimore because this is a must-win for them. They must win this game because the Cincinnati Bengals are breathing down their neck. They're both 3-3 right now. Baltimore has to win this game. They need to stay on top. Like you're saying, Nick, they don't really have the flashy defense of Baltimore Ravens of old. They have to try and continue to stay on top by winning games. They can't just say we can lose a game or two because we got defense. It doesn't even matter, They have to win every game they play, because if they don't, and they get into these situations where the defense is, where they have to win games, they don't have the defense to help them out. I don't see Cleveland trying to stretch take the top off. And I see that being their weakest part of Baltimore's defense because, they're letting up 100 yards rushing.
We kind of thought that last week against the Giants, though, too.
We did. We very well did.
But they do get Rashad Bateman back, it looks like, this week.
Yeah, I mean, he's questionable.
Just a quick little stat. Well, he was limited practice the past 2 weeks. Harbaugh says he's trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
Interesting stat real quick with Bateman. With Bateman, 7 touchdowns for Lamar Jackson. Without Bateman, 1 touchdown pass.
Well, he's got 13, so.
Huge.
He's got 13 touchdowns on the year. I'm taking the Ravens.
I did. I'm going to go Ravens, too. I think mainly based off of Cleveland's defense. I thought Cleveland's defense was going to be a strong point for them to help them tread water, and it hasn't been. Now, the running game has come through with Chubb, but the defense has not. It has surrendered double-digit in the 20s for the past 4 weeks now. I think having Bateman back to the fold will be the deciding factor for the Ravens. Lamar as well, being at home, all the intangibles, to me is bad. As tough as the Ravens defense has been, blowing leads, it still comes down to the production on offense. I think there's the possibility for Cleveland to keep this one interesting. Divisional matchup, controlling the ball with Chubb, but the Ravens at home, I think that's too tough an ask. I think you're right, Eddie, this is a big game for the Ravens. Borderline must win for them as well. So I'm taking Ravens here. Starting the